Yes. Do you know which one that is? Let me just see real quick.
The business movement.
See if the business, so it would be the 26th, yeah?
Mm.
We see, we'll double check on the 26th. Okay, and it would
It is
be-
July 26th.
Okay, good. All right, so let's do the 12th and the 18th as a regular motion, and then on the 18th, on the 26th, we can do as
Madam
amended.
Mayor,
Yes,
I move that we approve the July 12th and July 18th, 2022 meeting minutes as presented.
do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the July 26th, 2022 meeting minutes with the noted corrections.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And we have approval of the August 16th closed session meetings. Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes of August 16th, 2022.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, well, brings us to petitions, communications, appearances, and public comment. Proclamations, this coming up month, so next month is going to be Child Passenger Safety Week, and we have a proclamation that is to be read by Matt Trollinger. He's the last one who touched it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas parents and caregivers spend hours in the car with their children every week, driving to and from school, sports practices, music lessons, friends' homes, and other activities. Whereas car crashes are a leading cause of death for children riding unrestrained in the wrong restraint types for their ages and sizes, or in seats that are incorrectly installed. And whereas across the nation, 2 children under 13 are killed and an estimated 278 are injured every day riding in cars, SUVs, pickups, and vans. And whereas children under 13 are present in the vehicle in 34% of crashes in Charles County. And whereas the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration provides free online material that can help ensure that children are in the right car seats for their ages and size, and that the seats are installed correctly. Whereas the town of La Plata and the La Plata Police Department are committed to preventing senseless tragedies on our roads and reducing crash fatalities and injuries through the proper use of child safety restraints. Now, therefore, we, the council of the town of La Plata, do hereby proclaim September 18th through 24th, 2022 as Child Passenger Safety Week, and September 24th, 2022 as National Seat Check Saturday in the town of La Plata, and urge parents and caregivers to take all measures to guide and protect their children while traveling in cars. This is signed by Madam Mayor and the council members of the town of La Plata, James Goldsmith, Matthew Trollinger, Evelyn Bryant Ward, and David Jenkins.
Thank you very much. And we encourage everyone to make sure that the seats, the child seats are secured properly. And Chief, do you have someone that can check that if they go by the police station? Fantastic.
Does the health department not do it? I thought.
The process has become so daunting that it's been very difficult for people to get their recertifications done.
How about the volunteer fire departments?
Well, we will find someone should you need that service.
I only asked on a personal note.
Yes.
My granddaughter
That's right.
just got, her mother, my youngest daughter, just got it fitted at a fire station in Baltimore City.
Oh, good.
It was.
So they may be having to travel to Baltimore City, but there's safety for
Yes,
your child.
Right.
Thank you. Next is going to be public comment. If we have anybody that would like to speak, we ask that you come on up here, state your name and whether you live within the incorporated town limits. And if you could please just limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if we have anybody online.
Madam Mayor, no one present has signed up to speak.
Okay. All right, we will go to monthly reports. The first one up is the chief. I hope you all have been able to read the chief's report. Chief, I'm just going to, you can come on down because I'm just going to sit there and praise you guys for a little bit. Congratulations on all the officers' achievements, especially the life-saving of the new mom, the measures of and apprehension of the burglar that just came up, and then interrupting the human trafficking ring that was going on. Wow, you guys have all been very busy, so thank you so much for all of your hard work. And even today, as the cadet noticed something and said something, and it ended up a happy ending.
It
So
ended up a happy ending, yes.
very, very proud of the police department. Go ahead, Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. I just want to underscore what the mayor just said, but also add that this is a pretty, again, another robust report, but I just want to emphasize two things that's great that you're continuing to do is the professionalism and the training of the officers. And then again, the community outreach is really important. So thank you for doing that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for the chief or comments?
Madam Mayor, Chief, we looked at your report, but is there anything in here that you would particularly like for us to make note of?
Calls for service are up about 57% over last year. We've answered 3,218 more calls this year than we did last year. Now, last year was a COVID year and we were lower than normal, but we're running well above a 5-year average. There's no doubt about it. You'll see the traffic data has dipped just a little bit. One of that has to do with calls for service. One is it's vacation season and we're working at minimum staffing most shifts. We have 2 out on light duty from on-duty related injuries. And then we have 2 vacancies, which we extended job offers to 2 people. One who's experienced and will go through a 5-week comparative compliance class. And the other will be attending, we hope, the Anne Arundel County Police Academy. The only thing I really, for Noble, the national organization of Black law enforcement executives, of all the agencies that were accredited in Chicago, for them to pick up that La Plata was one of the agencies that was reaccredited. We don't know how they picked up on La Plata, but we're glad that they did. And then just to the human trafficking case, couple bells and whistles and some hair stood up on the back of some people's necks in the agency. And we just kept peeling the onion, which took us to Montgomery County to their special victims unit and their vulnerable persons unit, and then up to the Maryland State Police and then over to the FBI. So there's still a lot going on with it, but there was a lot of things that went on off duty late into the night, and our officers answered the call the entire time. I couldn't be prouder of them. So I think that's it for us. The only other thing is we want to swear in Sheldon Miller tonight. I know his family is watching, but Sheldon is on a personal injury accident right now. So I'm sure once they clear, if they clear before the meeting's over, they will be here.
Good, thank you. I was just going to ask you to address that. Thank you very much, Chief. Next up is our Director of Planning, Janine Harrington. Do we have any questions for Director Harrington?
Madam Mayor.
Yes. Go ahead, Councilman Jenkins.
Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4, Director Harrington. I just, I guess my standard question, any issues with respect to the intersection construction for Pine Grove at Willow Lane and Charles Street?
So I have not received any recent complaints. I know that they're actively working on getting that entrance paved and getting things cleaned up. I did notice some sediment in the roadway, so they do have some cleanup to do after the rains that we had. But from what I understand, everything is moving along fairly well.
And this is probably a premature question, but do we have any sense of the timing when our traffic consultant and/or the state will do a warrant study with respect to any signal intersection construction?
So they actually did just resubmit commentary to the State Highway Administration. So we'll have to see what their results are from that.
And then I know you've done a lot of work and it's really appreciated the new APF ordinance. Could you just provide us a brief overview of what's going to be in it? I mean, what elements are in it?
So it'll be all of the elements that are under the Charles County APF, so schools, roads, water, sewer. And that's something that we're currently working on. The county is working on an update right now.
Mhm.
And so what we're doing is we are taking a look at their proposed revisions, and we're also taking into consideration the public comments that they received. I want to make sure that we review all of the information. So I know that the town manager and I, as well as the town attorney, are kind of reviewing that information in order to provide an updated draft that we can move forward with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Harrington, Aaron does an amazing job by himself. I mean, and he's always positive when I speak with him and everything. Do we have any prospects? Are we actively looking for an Inspector One?
We have not reposted that yet. We found it's a little difficult to find staff right now, but we will be looking to re-advertise for that and find an Inspector One in the near future.
Okay, thank you.
For my education, then at Willow Lane, we were putting in the new road up the Heritage Green. Who requests stoplight to go there? Do we as a town request it? Does the county have to request it? How does that get into the system?
So it's a multidimensional effort, let's put it that way. So that's the basis for the traffic impact study. The state has certain regulations and provisions on when a traffic light is warranted. So the project itself has to meet those warrants before they will allow a traffic light to be installed. The town can certainly provide a letter or support to say we'd like this sooner rather than later. We've definitely had that conversation with the state. But again, it's a state, they would be the ones that would have to install it and maintain it. So they are the kind of basis of determining when that can happen. So we're trying to push forward as soon as we can, but they have to give the green light to do so.
I have a couple things. First of all, you guys have been so busy, and thank you for that. It's exciting that another restaurant just got received their UNO. We have seen Salsalitas opened up, and then the new Italian restaurant just opened up, and then another restaurant opening up. So fantastic. I really loved to read that the PFA request was approved for Morgan's Ridge and La Plata Road. So, oh my goodness, that is huge news. So how will they move forward with that? I'm sure that you have let them know.
Yes, I actually made sure that I responded via email while I was out on vacation because I knew it was an important topic. The next step is for the applicants to ensure that they have all of their paperwork in for the health department. They have an application process. The health department then goes to the state financing department to request the funding in order to get those funds to do the water and sewer.
That's fantastic news. And your director of inspections has done a fabulous job and very kindly had waving dancing man removed. So another one popped up over the weekend and it was handled very nicely. So kudos to you and your staff there. So thank you very much. All right.
Madam Mayor, could I just real quick follow up what Councilman Goldsmith talked about in terms of the warrant study and the intersection? And I would just hope that knowing what the state does or doesn't do, I'm hopeful that it doesn't get to a point where it's gridlocked before we get a signal installed. That's my concern. It's just a comment. I'm just making an observation.
Mr. Manuel?
Yeah, when we get to Bobby's report, I think Bobby has an update he can provide based on communications with the traffic consultant for Pine Grove.
Oh,
Yeah,
you did so well.
got it right.
All right, thank you, Director Harrington. All right, next is Director Stahl. Any questions for Director Stahl or comments? Councilwoman Bryant Ward?
It's not in your report, but we haven't heard anything more about the trash trucks. Where are we
We
with?
are working on that. We're trying to get bids back through Sourcewell as well as through Tom's Truck so that we can bring more bids forward. The big problem is very similar to what I'm facing with the new Vector truck. We would like to bring you the Vector truck in September. The challenge is the same that I've been facing across the board. The lead time is 1 year on that truck. And they're not willing to guarantee that if we issue them a purchase order in September, that the price, when I get it a year from now, will still be the same. And that's the real challenge with this, is that nobody's out there able to do this and able to guarantee you a price, because the companies aren't willing to guarantee, number one, when you're going to get the chassis, and when they do get the chassis, what the actual price will be. And so I have been working with GapVax on the big Vector truck. We certainly have the proposal. We have met the criteria for ARPA. Tom Himmler and I have been working on this. But my challenge is I don't want to end up in the exact same situation I was back in June, when I'm trying to explain why we have a purchase order that we issued for a truck. And now suddenly the price has increased. And that's what I've been going through with GapVax in the last week. We did the demonstration on the truck. We know what equipment we want. We have the specifications. I can certainly bring it to you in September. And it is well within the budget. The problem is it's not worth the ink that it takes to print the PO, because they're not willing to guarantee me that a year from now, when they actually get the truck, that's what the price is going to be. And so it is a problem. If you read everything out there in industry, everybody's facing the same similar challenge with these large trucks. And so we're working with GapVax right now, trying to figure out what kind of what kind of guarantee they're going to be able to give us on the price, because I don't want to be standing here a year from now with my hat in my hand saying, I'm sorry, the price has now gone up $40,000, because I did that back in June and I'm trying to cover myself.
You didn't go 40,000. That was almost double. That truck was 160 and you came back, it was almost 230, 240 or so. So that's not the
There
same.
were 4 increases on that
Yeah.
truck. It went from 158 to 162 to 169, and then it went to 209.
Yeah. So
And that's what I'm afraid of in this process, is that, everybody's willing to give you a price today, but they're all telling you that the truck is a year away. And they're not going to be able to guarantee me that the price that I get from them today is what we would pay a year from now. And that's what we're working on at this point, is trying to get some sort of guarantee, because otherwise, and what's happening is it's the same kind of strong arm effect that we had back in June. Tom's Truck says, listen, we're going to get 5 trucks. That's what I told you in June. And the bottom line is, if you want them, this is what the price is. And, we're going to try to have those trucks by the end of the year. I said, and this is what I said to the council, was it's a challenge, because clearly it went up. But, now the lead time is a year and they're still not willing to guarantee my price. They'll give me a price today, but as far as I see, and that's what Tom and I were going over this week, was I can't turn around and bring something to the council, because I'm not going to turn around and get into the same situation. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And so I'm not in this kind of scenario, because that's exactly the scenario that I'm backed into again.
are they willing to give you a price with the potential 40% increase when it's delivered?
That's what they're working on right now, is what they're willing to guarantee.
Okay.
And GapVax has gone up to even to their ownership to see what they're willing to do, because what happens is there's so few chassis manufacturers today. They deal with 4 chassis manufacturers, but none of the chassis manufacturers are willing to give them any kind of guarantee on that price. And so GapVax is saying, listen, we will guarantee you that the price on the body, which is what they actually manufacture, isn't going to go up. But on the chassis, it's something that we're trying to figure out what we can lock in. And that's what the challenge is right now. And I am trying to work those out. I've been having conversations with Tom's Truck, with Sourcewell, and with Gapvax to try and come back with some sort of something that I can bring you as far as a decision point, because I don't want to come in here and say, you know, I have the invoices from, I mean, not the invoices, but the proposals from both that lay out a number. But that in 50 cents is going to buy me a cup of coffee. And at today's rate, it's probably more like $2.
Last question. What you keep saying, Vector?
We have a large vac truck. It's both a vacuum truck and a jetter truck that's in the ARPA budget. If you remember, there was $750,000 in that budget. That is a dual truck. We currently have a vac trailer that's about 15 years old, and we have a jetter truck that's a 1995. And so we were trying to get both of those. We're still going to keep the other two, but they're both older, and we're trying to modernize what we have right now. And so we're going to bring that to you as an ARPA fund. It's clearly a year out, but it's the exact same problem. And I've spent numerous conversations back and forth with them trying to work this challenge out because of the lead time of the year.
Director Spell, just to piggyback on what Councilwoman Bryant Ward said, is there a way that we could expand the radius in which we are looking at and then just pay the delivery fee? I know that when we were looking for POVs that we expanded it, and there's maybe a delivery charge of $1,000 for that, but it's a heck of a lot cheaper than, you know, some of with the increase that we saw. Is that even possible?
Certainly, the trouble is that it's a nationwide problem. I mean, there's just a shortage, you know, there was a chip shortage, which created this whole backlog in trucks. And with the economy booming the way it is, people are trying to replace their fleets. And the challenge is really nationwide. It's not that when you start looking for chassis, everybody is finding the same issue across the board. You know, here again, today, you know, you can look at the number of manufacturers, and you've got Mack, Freightliner, Western Star, PACCAR, which owns both Peterbilt and Kenworth. They own them both. You know, that's really kind of the limitation of what you have. And the bigger challenge on that is today, 60+% of the diesel engines that are put in these big trucks are manufactured by Cummins. So you have really one engine manufacturer. And so all of these companies are very limited and have numerous buyers. So it's something that I've never seen. I literally have bought hundreds and hundreds of trucks. When I was at Cheney, you know, we spec'd and bought literally, you know, we had a fleet of 500 vehicles at that time. And I've never seen it like this before, where we're having this kind of challenge, you know, getting trucks. We could work with body manufacturers. We could lock prices in. This really isn't something that I've seen. And I don't like to come in here with my hat in my hand like I did in June, because it's not something that I've seen, and it's problematic, and it's not something that's fun to bring before the council. And so I am trying to make sure that we can work something out where I can give you some sort of guarantee that the purchase order that we would put out would be worth more than, you know, the piece of paper itself.
You're not going to let us live that down, are you? I don't think, I think the scenario would be different. I think we were looking at a number of years, as opposed to you coming with a proposal or a purchase order for this year, and we come back next year. It wasn't a year span that we were looking at it. And so I think that if we could get a PO for a truck, and they say there's a propensity that it may go up 50%. At least we understand that.
That's right.
I could not understand, wrap my mind around the jump in price. And I was thinking it was the same truck, but it wasn't the same truck. It was a different truck. So that was probably ignorance on my part. And so my ask is that, what you have, whatever you get, bring it and let us make a decision.
Right.
And then if they can give us a market increase, perhaps, at least we would know what to expect.
That's what I'm trying to get from them
Okay.
right now, and that is, what is the increase parameter that we would have in this, and whether it's 3%, 5%, 10%, whatever they are, what I'd like to know is that there's a reasonable level of guarantee
Yeah.
that if we issue you this purchase order today, that when we get the truck, next September, next October, that we're not hearing the truck's sitting right here, and if you want it, it's now 50% more.
But if you told us that it's 50% more
Well, if
than
they
we'd
told you that,
expected.
that's one thing. But I think what a lot of these, whether it's the truck manufacturer, whether it's the body company, they're all knowing that there's a shortage. And here it is, it's supply and demand. There's a very short supply of trucks. They know that they're in the so-called driver's seat. And the challenge is that we're all sitting back here wanting to get the truck, but it's a challenge in trying to do that. It really is. And so it's been something, and to also work through our procurement guidelines to make sure that we're doing it appropriately in the situation. So we're working through that because at least on the Vector truck, it is a federal procurement. And so we're trying to make sure that everything is correct for the ARPA.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other? Oh,
Just for curiosity, do our procurement guidelines put us at a disadvantage to compete against companies like Cheney for these vehicles?
No, not necessarily. It makes it a little difficult. We've always been able to, and part of the challenge, we can go to Sourcewell, and a lot of companies have Sourcewell contracts like GapVax does for the big Vector truck. And Sourcewell is it's the National Joint Purchasing Alliance, which is a whole lot of governmental entities that have all partnered together. We're a member of that. It's now called Sourcewell. And what they do is they bid out contracts on a large scale. And so they price everything accordingly. And what happens in both state procurement and these federal procurements, you can use Sourcewell's bid and use Sourcewell's price from these manufacturers as a pre-bid option so that you don't actually have to go out and spend the money to go out and procure it. And we've used that in a number of different methods. The last time we used Sourcewell was actually for the police station. We did a Sourcewell contract up there. We contracted with Centennial Contractors, but we used Sourcewell for the bidding purpose, and we're able to procure that within our framework of what our procurement guidelines set out. It's also part of the federal program. So this has been very good. It's an option for us. What happens is some of the vendors go through Sourcewell and some don't. Tom's Truck has always been a cheaper vendor that we've been able to deal with. They do not do Sourcewell. We've been trying to get them to go through Sourcewell. But what I'm looking to do, and this is what Tom and I were discussing the other day on the trash trucks, was that maybe what we do is we get a Sourcewell bid for a spec. We'll use the same spec and then get a Sourcewell bid for that, or get maybe several bids from Sourcewell, and then get the Tom's Truck bid as well. So we'd have some Sourcewell, some outside of Sourcewell. So I'm trying to put that together for him. So that's what we're working on.
thank you. Councilman Jenkins?
Thank you. Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4, just two quick questions. Well, does a town trim trees back from public roadways? For instance, on East Patuxent, there's these two or three trees that have really grown out, and they're actually in their travel way. I didn't know what, somebody asked me that, and I see it. I don't know what the policy is.
We have within our right of ways, where the
Okay.
trees are within our right of ways or overhang our right of ways. We generally in the last several years have been contracting it out.
Hmm.
And so we did last year contract out like the trimming along Quailwood Parkway. We had, I believe it was Realtree, come in and do all the trimming along Quailwood Parkway. So if people would report that in, and we have quite a few of them, if it's just some individual limbs and that
Yeah.
kind of thing, we'll take our truck out there and trim them. If we have enough where it needs, the whole street needs it, then we'll bring in a contractor to be able to take care
I'm
of
not
it.
an expert, but I think in this particular instance, it's probably one or two branches and. one or two
If we
limbs.
just
Right there
know
on East
that,
Patuxent.
you know, where they
Okay.
are, if someone
Okay.
would just call Chris
Yep.
and let her know the address, we'll have them take care of that. And our guys will go out there and take care of it.
And then just, so how is smart water working so far?
I I have to say that as far as I know, WaterSmart is still functional and working well. There are quite a few things. I was not the point of contact for the town for WaterSmart. And so I'm not that point of contact, and I would have to, I'm going to have to, if it goes on much longer, I'm going to have to actually get inserted back into that process to be that person, because there were some to-dos on our side, and we need to finish those to get it working, but it is working.
Yeah, I mean, I asked the question.
Today, I checked on the meters and we're still reporting, we were reporting at 88%. So we're still having some meter issues, still fairly high, but not nearly as high as what it needs to be. So that's still one of the bigger challenges.
Because I think a couple of days after it was launched, I actually got in. From my perspective, for me, at least, it's working pretty good. And I even paid my last month's bill online. It was one extra step that I wasn't aware of, but that was okay and it worked. So for me, and I had at least two neighbors of mine tell me that they use it a lot and they like it. So.
Yeah, no, it
Thank you.
provides very good data. Councilman Jenkins, the bigger challenge really is the sometime inability to get the data.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Director Stahl, for your presentation. I just want to thank you for your coordination with Mr. Mosery about that issue in Agricopia and for the steady improvement in our neighborhoods. It's great to see the photos in the reports as to the before and after. There's some gnarly before pictures that look pretty dangerous. But the after, I mean, you can tell that your people take these issues seriously, and when we can get them there, you know, it's hard because they're running all over town. But when we can get them there, they're making a big difference. So keep plowing through that list. I appreciate it. Thank you.
If I
Especially
could,
the whales photos and the continuing
Well,
work with
we're-
whales stuff.
if I could, I'd like to mention a number of things that are going on that are keeping us extremely busy. One is we are at the crossing under Charles Street at ANS School, and the boring contractor is there, and we are literally boring under Route 6. So we're working on that. The sewer line is all the way to the top of the hill. We have been working, putting the topsoil back in there, and hopefully by the end of the week, we will seed down most of that except for the area of the boring. And that's good because, of course, the kids come back to school on Monday, and we were glad to get kind of as much as we could out of their way before school started. So that was positive. On Thursday, we are doing the four-way stop at Glen Allman and St. Mary's, and I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. Austin Dirt Works is going to start at Kings Grant on Thursday. And they're going to steadily work on all of the boxes that we have over there, as well as pulling the pipe back through. We did get the pipe last Friday for the fix at Wales Drive. And so we will be pulling that through starting on Thursday. And Bryce has assured me that his crew will stay with us until such point that we can get that. He has another crew that's going to be freed up next week. and we will be moving into Jamestown to fix the really bad one at the end of Discovery Court. So we have the pipe for that, and we will be pulling that new pipe in to be able to reset that box and to make sure that that is in place. We have had the belt filter press down at the wastewater treatment plant for almost 2 weeks. We finally got the parts in yesterday, and the guys were still working on it when I left. But hopefully tomorrow we will be back to pressing, because sludge was definitely building up in the plant and we needed to get that going. We are still having a lot of challenges, just like that part, in trying to get parts. We're getting pretty low on alum, and the delivery of the alum is now a problem. So it is something where, delivery of product is challenging. I heard earlier you mentioned about the washout in the middle of Charles Street. That was clearly a major problem but I would assure you that we had 3 inches of rain the other night in about 2 hours. So it was quite the storm, and it was quite the mess down there in the middle of Charles Street. They had graded out quite a lot. And I just wanted to kind of update everyone. We have finished the utilities all the way up to Caroline Drive, and we did make the connection from Charles Street up to Caroline Drive. So the water line is connected, the new sewer line is connected, and the 2 force mains are all the way at the top of the hill. So all of the utilities up to the top of the hill are there. The bigger piece, and what they're working on right now, is, if you notice, they've had to tremendously undercut both lanes. And so they've undercut both lanes by at least 2 feet, and they're working on soil cement, because the compaction wasn't there in the road area down there. They've had to undercut, and they're going to have to bring a lot of new material in, and they will actually mix it with Portland cement to try and get the compaction that's necessary of 98% of optimum. And we're monitoring that. So they know that we need to have 98% of optimum before we will allow them to pave on the town side. It's what you saw on the state highway as well, where they had to undercut a lot. The base soils are very soft, and so getting compaction is not easy in that situation. So they are going to have to soil cement all the way up the hill. And so they have Reliable Contracting. Mulford's responsible for the road, but they've subcontracted with Reliable Contracting to actually do the soil cement work in there to bring the compaction of the soils up before we can pave. So that's there. They are now, they just let the contract for Mulford up in neighborhood K for the utilities. So we're up there now starting to work on neighborhood K. So
Great.
There's a lot of progress behind the scenes. You're not seeing it on the surface, but there has been a lot. And the town has spent a lot of time and a lot of effort in trying to inspect all the way across the board. The main trunk line sewer is all the way up to manhole 22, and we started at manhole 1. So there are, I would say, roughly maybe 2/3 of the way up to Rosewick Road. They're working on some changes in some pipe diameters up there, and we're going to have to go back and do that. But it is a challenge trying to stay ahead of all of the utilities work. We've had 2 water main breaks down on Charles Street in front of Bill's house, where they've struck utilities that we weren't there. But these are things that we face every single day, and it's not like we don't, we just have to stop and work on that and move forward. The thing that Brent asked me to talk about was Mike Lenhart, who is the traffic consultant for DR Horton, has resubmitted a new warrant study to the state and has asked for the state to issue the go-ahead for the traffic signal at this point. It is Horton's intention that they would put the traffic signal in if the state would issue the permit to do so. That's a very tough process. The state has a warrant analysis that they require. And there are certain parameters. In Charles County, every single traffic light, whether it's on a county road or a state road, the state maintains those traffic lights. And so the state isn't easy about saying, we're going to issue a traffic light in this situation. I think certainly a letter in support from the council could be helpful in this process, and even, some pressure to say, this is very important to the town of La Plata, I think would be appropriate. So I clearly think, and I think, you have the full support of Horton at this point. They would like to go ahead and build the signal. So it's not like your developer is balking at this. They're willing to move forward. So I think it's a time to strike while the iron's hot and try to see if we can't move forward. It's going to be a challenging time because you're going to have a change in administration here pretty quickly. And so I'm not sure that and there will be a lag time before a new administration can get up to speed. So it may be better to do this. The last thing I would say is that we also not only made the water connection at Caroline and tied that in, but we also made the water connection up at Rosewick into the new Rosewick Crossing Shopping Center. So all of the water lines are complete up there. The water line was tied into 16. And we spent a lot of time finding those utilities to be able to take them across. So we are actively working with the developer up there, trying to solve a lot of those water and sewer issues for that project.
Fantastic. I just want to say that when I was reading your report, I saw the many after hours you're doing. So kudos to you on that. And happy to hear 152 containers so far has been delivered. So thank you for that. Appreciate the very thorough report. Keep up the great work.
No problem.
All right, next up is, it's on the agenda, the treasurer report. Miss Martha, do you have anything that you would like to say? I saw that look. It was like, really? Well, thank you so much. And I know that you're working on the weekends, so thank you so much for that. I greatly appreciate that. Next is Legislative Services. We have our interim director, Ms. Phipps, and I'm going to start off just because she goes, look, I just want to mark this day because this is the very first report that the interim director of Legislative Services is going to give. So I have about 16 questions to ask. So you guys, if you have one to ask or comments. Oh, go ahead, Councilman Jenkins.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. I would also applaud this report should be on. I mean, it's good that it's here now. So thank you for that. And then just, I guess, just a question. I noticed there's some information or there's a reference to the town website. So is there any progress or what's the status of that potential update to the town website?
Certainly, we met with Tom Himmler from our ARPA consultant. He gave us a path forward as far as how to start developing that. We're going to be looking at least 3 different websites. We've been checking out 4 or 5 of them, and then trying to see what our needs are, both for the citizenry and for the town and the employees and the staff. So that's going to require a lot of surveying and trying to coordinate all of those needs into one thing. We also have some existing platforms, like in planning, they've just adopted Municity. Mm-hmm. And then over in Public Works, they have Dude Solutions working. So we need to make sure that all of that works together or how we can coordinate all of that. So we'll be reaching out to the council, we'll be reaching out to the other departments to figure out exactly how we want to go forward with that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The one that you had, one thing that you had shown on here is that you've been receiving a lot of PIAs, which is within everyone's right to ask. And I just want to say that you all have been handling that very well, and it has been meeting the marks and responding. So kudos to your department for handling that so well. And you're off the hook now.
Oh,
I
that's
don't
it?
have anything else.
That wasn't even a question. I was
I
waiting for
know,
16.
I know. I just wanted to ease you in just a little bit, but thank you very much, you guys. That department is doing fabulous as well, and you took the bull by the horn and you're running with it, so thank you.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, could I just add, I guess, a comment?
No.
No question.
Yes, you can.
Or a heads up. I've been looking at on my own some other platforms to increase engagement with the citizenry. And so I'm going to probably be sending an agenda request to look at one particular platform.
Okay, good.
So I just want to give you a heads up, not to complicate things any, but it probably will. But I just think that we should maybe look at that as well.
I have one too that has reached out to me, so maybe it'd be a good discussion to
Okay,
have. So
thank
thank you. Thank you, Interim Director Phipps. All right, brings us down to matters of information. Resolution 22-01, the hub annexation.
Yeah, I'll take that, Madam Mayor. Yeah, we're in receipt of correspondence from Stu Greer on behalf of Hawthorne Rosewick Limited Partnership. In said request, they would respectfully request a deferral of further proceedings in this case so that we can continue to consider and establish a resolution of the enclave issue, similar to that request that we received from Hawthorne Yards.
Thank you, Mr. Manuel. Based on this attached letter, I move that we table resolution 2201 until such time as the applicant can prove that the enclave situation has been resolved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying, I'm hungry. Indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us down to our next legislation is the strategic plan.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Town Council, Resolution 22-21, Strategic Plan Adoption. It's for your consideration of adoption this evening. It is a resolution concerning 2022 Town of La Plata Strategic Plan for the purpose of adopting the strategic plan for the Town of La Plata and all matters related to said plan.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to accept resolution 22-21?
Make a motion to accept resolution 22-21, 2022 strategic plan.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes,
Okay,
Madam Mayor.
yes.
The bottom line, adopted and approved by the Council of Town of La Plata on -2009. Is that an error?
Yeah, I would say unless we want to backtrack to 2009, which I have no interest in doing. I don't want to go through the pandemic
So
again.
we're gonna make that correction.
Okay, so I have a motion. I have a second. Do we need to amend the
Amend,
motion? Okay. Would, who made the motion? Jim, would you like to amend the motion to incorporate the change of date?
I move that we make a change of dates to reflect the actual strategic plan.
Okay, and we have to second again? Dude,
Second the motion,
All right.
amended motion.
all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The amended motion carries. Thank you. Brings us to ordinance 22-15, chapter 191 revision.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Town Council, for your consideration of adoption, an ordinance concerning Chapter 191, zoning ordinance for the Town of La Plata for the purpose of amending Chapter 191, Section 191-28, Code of the Town of La Plata. Section 1 being enacted by the Council of the Town of La Plata, that Chapter 191, Section 191-28, Table 3 of the Code of the Town of La Plata.
All right, I have, do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 22-15?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we adopt ordinance 22-15, chapter 191 zoning ordinance for the town of La Plata, Maryland.
Do I have a second?
Madam Mayor, I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That brings us down to our new business, and we have our commission reports. We'll start off with Councilman Goldsmith.
Yes, the design review board at the last meeting really didn't have major projects to talk about. We were discussing the SMECO requirement to change the street lights. They're going to be filling LED lights in there and what type of options we would have at that point in time. And I'm not sure, will that come to the council for the final recommendation? Or is it?
Yeah, I think that's the intention, is that it'll come out of planning. So we will discuss it at a further future work session topic so that town council can receive the recommendation from the design review board and then discuss whether or not they want to accept that recommendation. If so, then we'll move it forward to the business agenda.
That was pretty much it.
And I would like, thank you, Councilman Goldsmith, and just to add on to that, I know that SMECO has made every effort to put aside any of our existing lanterns right now to make sure that if one does have to be replaced, before replacing everything, that we do have that. So I applaud them for that. That was very nice of them to even consider that. So thank you for that. Councilman Trollinger.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no report. We will be meeting in September or thereafter. Thank you.
And for Keep La Plata Beautiful, don't you have a event coming up?
We do. We do. Sunday at 9.
Oh, Sunday at 9. Fantastic. I love that. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think I don't want to steal anybody's spotlight here. So
That's all I've got on that one.
share with us this event. It's a great event.
It is, I think interim director Phipps knows a little bit more about it. And it is on Sunday. Oh, there you go, right back at the podium. Thank you so much.
It's Sunday at 9, from 9 to 11, probably more like 9 to 10:30. We have a litter pickup at Tillman Lake Park, run by the litter bees. Really, it's more of a stroll with some trash bags, which.
There you go.
Sounds
All
fine.
right, there. Thank you very much. All right, Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
So the planning commission met and we were looking to approve the master site development plan amendment for Steeplechase. And I think it kind of got muddled a lot. We had a lot of HOA issues thrown in with some preliminary plat issues. So that got tabled. They will come back next month, and I'm hoping that everybody will have an understanding, a clear understanding of the purpose of that meeting and be able to move that forward.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I know that you all have been extremely busy. Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks to Ms. Minor for providing an update about the Parks and Recreation Commission. Our next meeting, we've been not meeting during the summer. Our next meeting is September 14th at 7:30 a.m. It's still a virtual meeting. And apparently this splash pad is closing on September the 6th. And then there's an application being made or has been made for a Community Parks and Recreation grant application for a soft matting under all the playgrounds in the town. So that would, I guess, increase the safety. And then I do have a candidate. We need to fill some vacancies, and I do have a potential candidate. So I'll reach out to her again, and then I guess I have to give her an application and then bring it forward through the commission and then bring it forward to the town council, correct? Is that the
Wonderful.
process?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. For upcoming events, this Friday is our last summer concert, and we have had a wonderful summer concert. This one will be Bobby McKee's. I'm going to make sure nobody trips on a cord because that always has a little bit of fun with that one. September 9th is WGTS will be coming down here and handing out some ice cream. And then they're going to have a concert by a somewhat well-known artist that escapes my mind right now, but they have been advertising for that, and we invite all of our residents to come join that concert. We also have so many events that are going on that are outside of the town hall within La Plata or in Charles County. So I encourage everyone to support our local businesses and foundations. We've got the wine tasting from the Hospital Foundation coming up. I think it's September 10th. We've got Lobster Fest that the Rotary's putting on. That's coming up. Rocktoberfest is October 1st. Bounty of the County is coming up. So all of these, Walk to End Alzheimer's, all of these events are coming up during the next couple months. So I encourage our residents to participate should they have the time to do that. As Director Stahl said, that new four-way stop sign is going to be installed on Glen Albin and St. Mary's on Thursday. So it is very important that we pay attention to this. It's so long overdue on that stop sign. So it's all in the name of safety. So thank you to the Safety Committee for recognizing that. And we have back to school. I always hear that song. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's just playing in my head when school's coming out. So just be very careful driving in the neighborhoods and watch the school buses. We will be putting out something, I'm sure, on do not pass the school buses when the sign is out and their flashing lights are on. And that is the end of my report. And, you know, I have to say, I love the overzealousness and overachieving of our newest officer that I'm about to swear in. I mean, you couldn't have planned this more perfectly, that you had to be on a call. I mean, we already know that you're pretty good, but I am going to call the chief down here and he's going to talk a little bit about Officer Miller, and I'm going to have the honors of swearing him in. So go ahead, Chief.
Mayor, there's one thing I neglected during my report I'd like to mention since the officers here. As you saw in the report, our officers were instrumental, along with other first responders, of saving a mother who just gave birth to a child. 911 worked exactly the way it was supposed to. Family member called, the dispatcher gave CPR directions over the phone. First responding officer, first responder on the scene was Brendan Smith, Corporal Brendan Smith. He did CPR, and so did Sergeant Philip Thompson. Then the medics got there. They were able to use an AED and push whatever medications they could. Because of these folks and how fast they responded and what they did, not coming from me as chief, coming from the medical staff, they're calling this lady a walking miracle. And you know, we're always proud of what our people do every day on every interaction, but this one is really, really noteworthy. And I just want to recognize, since we're here publicly, Corporal Smith for his training, carrying it out, and being instrumental in saving this lady's life. So, and then I'll move on to Sheldon Miller.
Well, we can.
Sheldon, if you want to come up and we'll get you to stand in front of the podium. Sheldon graduated the Anne Arundel County Police Academy on the 15th of June. We like the Anne Arundel County Police Academy because they teach 21st century policing like few others do. Sheldon has spent 3 years in Ocean City, 2 of those years as a seasonal police officer. So he gets the experience of working in Ocean City. Was sworn in privately just after he graduated the academy by the mayor so we could get him on field training, which he should complete in September. He's doing very well, and we're very proud of him and his accomplishment. As we said, his family could not be here tonight because one of them had a medical procedure, but they're with us here virtually. The only good byproduct of COVID is we learn how to communicate virtually. So I'll step up here. You want to stand here and face the mayor?
That's what I saw. Right. I please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Sheldon Miller,
I, Sheldon Miller,
do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland
to the state of Maryland
and support the Constitution and laws thereof.
and support the Constitution and laws thereof.
And that I will,
And that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the duties of police officer of the town of La Plata
execute the duties of police officer for the town of La Plata
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
in accordance with the Constitution and laws of the state.
Fantastic. Congratulations. And now you have to officially sign this. Based on today, I have no hesitation about signing this. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Anything, any families watching anything?
Your moment. You have to- They're tweeting it. Come on.
Welcome aboard.
We're proud of you. Thank you very much. And with this, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, can I mention something real quick? If you-
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so amongst some of our amazing opportunities in the community, there is one which a local law firm is putting on at the Southern Maryland Blue Crab Stadium on September 3rd is First Responder Night. So any families of first responders, and that's police officers, firefighters, EMTs, can go to the game for free. You may see some of your local council there, perhaps. The game starts at 6:35. It's also Darrell Thompson bobblehead night, so it's a win-win. Thank you.
Anything for a bobblehead.
Saturday, September 3rd.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Any other items for the good of the order here?
Make a motion to adjourn, Madam Mayor?
All right. Do I have, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.